Hello, welcome back to the show. Another of my pipe smoking videos. I'm going to be smoking a pipe. You've seen it before. I don't have a huge range of pipes, and I'm enjoying pipe smoking. And the reason, I suppose, what reason do I make these videos? I enjoy talking to you guys, really, because I do lots of videos on my other channel about all sorts of bits and pieces, and I enjoy the philosophy side, really. I've gone through a number of different themes and ideas and expressions, but I keep coming back to more philosophy. Anyway, so I'm not really the channel to go to for pipe smoking reviews. And in fact, I've forgotten the name of the tobacco that I'm going to be smoking. This, I know, is a Hardcastle. I believe you can't get them anymore. And I forget what this is called. It's a British Hardcastle Briar Root. It does say on there somewhere. Anyway, it's a jolly nice pipe, and that's why we're here. Now, I was hoping on today's show to reveal something rather special, but it has yet to arrive. And so that's okay, because it'll be here, hopefully, fingers crossed, next week. And I can tell you, I'm so excited and so chuffed, I can almost not contain myself. But I don't want to spoil it, and we'll just have to wait. So in the meantime, I've got plenty to talk about, because I always have plenty to talk about. And you've been so extremely kind as viewers with your comments and saying that you enjoy listening to this show. And I wish I could say to you that I spent the whole week preparing so that this was absolutely fantastic. But I have learnt that my skill, if it's a skill at all, is that when I prepare things, very rarely are they as good as spontaneity. And sometimes spontaneity doesn't work. Sometimes I am rubbish at coming up with things, but very often I feel that I'm much better at improvising on the go. And my whole life really has been about improvising. And many of us do that, don't we? We get into a situation in which, I don't know, sometimes it's professional courtesy puts us in that position. And I ought to get the pipe lit. I'm very aware that I haven't lit the pipe yet. But professional courtesy, because as a filmmaker, sometimes I would be on a corporate job with my camera, and I would think, oh, blimey, this is a bit tricky, whatever the situation was. And the client, who also thought it was a bit tricky, would turn around to me and say, yeah, I know this is a bit tricky, but you're the professional and I know you'll make it good. And you think, yeah, thanks. And of course, you have to go, yeah, don't worry, I'll sort it out. And you're in that situation having to sort out the problem, whatever that problem is, because your livelihood depends on it. Anyway, I've got this. Is this a billiard? Is it a billiard? Is it an apple? I mean, I don't know. Chris from Harriet Pipes, come to my aid. Oh, I've opened this. I've got my tobacco in here. Now, I am breaking a rule. I know, it's outrageous, isn't it? I am breaking my own rule because I normally like to just have one tobacco, go through it, come to the end, do another tobacco. And I find I really get to know that tobacco. And very often I'll have the tobacco in the first couple of days. I think, oh, I'm a bit unsure with this. And I even say it to the lovely Julia, my partner. I say, I'm a bit unsure about this one, not really liking it. Then by about day 3, I'm loving it. And by the time I come to the end, I'm thinking, oh, I need some more. Now, one such tobacco was something called Perfection by Samuel Galworth, and I really enjoyed that. By the end I got to it, and in fact if you may have seen the episode, I sent Father John a pipe that was actually given to me. Thank you, Andy. I was going to try and sell it or whatever, but I thought, no, some of those pipes that I was given them, and I'm not really about making money, and I thought somebody else might get some pleasure out of it. And I thought, Father John, he just seemed to be somebody who would get a lot of pleasure out of it. And I've got a lot of pleasure watching him smoke it, so it worked. But what I did was I put some tobacco in the pipe when I sent it. And I thought, what a great idea. And you see people being given pipes. And I just thought, wouldn't that be a lovely thing to do, is to put the tobacco already in the pipe, your favourite tobacco or what you're smoking at the moment, so that the person who receives the gift of a pipe can also try out a piece, some tobacco. Now, there'll be some people out there, I'm sure, who say, Richard, it's not a good idea. You shouldn't have the tobacco in the pipe for any length of time, especially a new pipe, because it's bound to flavour the pipe, or, you know, this, that and the other, and perhaps the person doesn't like the pipe and now you've got the flavour stuck in the pipe. And you may well be right. I didn't think that through, did I? So, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I did the gesture, and it's the thought that counts, isn't it? It's the thought that counts. So what am I smoking on this occasion? I can't remember what it's called. You see, the reason I broke my rule is, and there doesn't seem to be much left of this, I came to the end of perfection, and I'd already got a couple of items in to last me another couple of weeks. And I opened this one and I thought, oh, this is very rich, it's very chocolatey, it's very dark, so there's a lot of black Cavendish in there, and I didn't want to smoke it all at once. And I thought, this is a luxurious one, or one that I wouldn't want to smoke every day all the time. Not saying that I smoke every day all the time, I smoke every day usually, but I don't. It's not hanging from my mouth. Anyway, I thought, no, I want this one just for the evenings, like I do occasionally have a port, which I enjoy. Cheers. Usually with the lovely Julia, who isn't here at the moment, so don't tell her that I'm drinking our port. Shush. So, what is this? This is, well, I had something called Blackberry Bramble or something from Sutliff. This is another Sutliff, because I was inclined to get some before they disappeared. And so I did. And I can't remember what the hell it's called now. And I've taken the label off and I've plonked it in here. And well, I can't get any more. I think it's going to be, you know, extinct fairly soon. So it doesn't really matter. Anyway, it's a very chocolatey one. It's very much like a dark chocolate. It's very deep and moorish and succulent. It's lovely, very lovely. Now, on my other channel, I do occasionally smoke my pipe on my other channel, and somebody said in the comments today, I thought it was hilarious, somebody said, oh, but, you know, snide comments, somebody said, a true pipe smoker lights his pipe with a match. And I thought, well, that's a very stupid thing to say, but probably what he meant, to give him, you know, the benefit of the doubt, he probably meant a traditional pipe smoker would use a match before lighters were invented. And of course that would have been true. Or a spill. You can imagine in the old days, a spill would have been good. But because he said that, I thought I'd better make myself a real pipe smoker, whatever that is. And light the pipe with that. And I'm sitting by the fire here. Even though we've had some good weather, I have my fire on, even in the summer, all year round, because it heats the water and all that sort of stuff. Log burning. Anyway, right, that's so that's what I'm doing, and actually, I have got my lighter with me, so. Thing about Cavendish, I think it's Cavendish that is the one which I like about Cavendish. Is the smoke. And as you may be aware, I do like to light the videos with a few lights to capture the smoke. What's the point of smoking if you can't see the smoke? But it's the flavour, obviously. It's the flavour, it's the taste, it's delightful. So, this is quite a damp tobacco, but it is very nice. Now, I did have a tamper here somewhere. There we go. That's lovely. Absolutely lovely. I don't really, you know, it's only recently I've been smoking a pipe, about a year and a bit now. Although I dabbled when I was in my 30s. And I think to myself, I've missed so much. And if over those years, if I'd started in my 30s and carried on smoking and just every year put one tin of tobacco away, and now I'd have 30 odd tins of tobacco too at much cheaper prices. I wish I'd done that. But there you are. Anyway, I wanted to show you something rather fascinating, but I can't because it hasn't arrived. But don't let that worry you, because I've got a couple of other things I wanted to talk about. I was watching, whilst I was setting up, you know, tripod and lights and whatever, lit my candle, give it a bit of ambience, put my light on, all those sort of things, you know. I was listening and half watching dear old Piper X1X up north. And he was talking about how time passes so very quickly, which of course it does. And the older you get, the more quickly that time does pass. And he was saying, bless him, and I don't know if he watches my stuff, but he was saying that he was worried really about getting old. I've always had a bit of a young face, especially when I put a hat on. And when I used to do the extra work, I used to act in bits and pieces, and occasionally you get the odd line here and there. I used to do a bit of stage stuff, you know, local, parochial stuff and amateur stuff and all those sort of things. And of course I used to be an entertainer and juggle and unicycle and fire eat and all those kind of things as well. But when I used to do the television, I'd always get cast as a policeman, a soldier, something military. And it was great fun because you used to get these guns and you'd shoot the guns. You always had blanks in them and various things. But as soon as I put a hat on, and most military people have hats, I looked 10 years younger than I was. So when I was in my 30s, if I was doing that sort of work, which I was, I would always look like I was in my 20s. And I got a part in a kids programme once as a policeman. Now, I didn't expect I was going to talk about this. As a policeman, had a few lines, and they cast me because, you know, liked me and what have you. But as soon as they put the helmet on me, they said, "Oh my goodness, you suddenly look like a 12-year-old," which was true. And I mean, I suppose if they'd asked me, I would have told them that. And I thought, what should we do? So, and part of this was a conversation with a car. The car pulls away, and then I throw my hat after this car, and you know, well, sort of. It was only like 2 or 3 lines. It was a nice little part, but it was blinking you'd miss it. One of those. A bit more than when I was in the bill. I used to be in the bill as a regular background policeman, you know, doing extra work and walk-ons. You probably saw me. I was the white shirt behind frosted glass at the end of the corridor. That was me. Do you remember that one? Yeah. Well, this was a bit more than that. I was actually speaking, and the camera did take some close-ups of me. You know, it was a proper part. It was a proper part, and I got paid for it. Not to say I didn't get paid for the other stuff, but I did get paid, you know, handsomely, as they say, handsomely. And I'm a real pipe smoker today, aren't I? Look at this. And so they shot this thing, and he said, the thing is, the camera's going to come over here, and we want to see you in close-up, and you say your lines to this car, the people in the car. But if you do, you look like you're 20. Oh, sorry, 12. So I said, would it help if I took my hat off beforehand? And he said, oh yeah, take your hat off. So the camera came sweeping down, however it did. I can't remember exactly what happened. The camera comes down like this to the car. Hello, hello. I can't remember my lines, anything like that. Yeah, where are you going then? You're in all very much of a hurry. I'll have to tell you to curb your speed, otherwise I'll have to get my little book out and take your number, son. Whatever the line was. And so the camera comes in, and as the camera comes down, I take my hat off and I lean through the window so they can, you know, hello, 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 all this sort of thing. They speed off, and then I lob my helmet at the car. And then they cut to a shot of the car racing away and my helmet spinning on the on the tarmac. So it worked very well in the end. But yes, hats made me look very young. Now, why was I talking about that? Oh yes, because dear old X1X, Piper X1X, was talking about getting old. Now, I don't know how old he is. He looks very young. Since he's shaved his beard, he looks much younger. He looks very sprightly. He looks like in his early 50s. And I hope I haven't upset him by saying that, because he looked much older with the beard. But I liked him in the beard as well, because there's something about a Piper beard. And a Piper beard? What's a Piper beard? I don't know. I don't know. What's a Piper beard? A pipe and a beard. And he goes out and does his moleing, which I found really fascinating. So well done. You know, we learn something because we're all different people, but we share one thing. And we might share other things in common, but we share this one thing, that we are of the pipe. Whether you're a real pipe smoker or one of these ones that uses a lighter, you know, it's a prop. It's a prop. It's just a prop. Makes me laugh. Anyway, something else I wanted to show you. I'll get this thing lit. I'm sorry, I'm going into non-real pipe smoker mode with my lighter. Which was a gift. And I'm trying desperately. It was a lovely Irishman who sent me this. And he sent it. And for some reason, there was some communication problems. He didn't tell me he was sending it. So it went back to the post office. And that's better. We got some smoke. Look at that. This is what it's about, isn't it, eh? I like watching Chris from Harriet Pipes when he starts off. And he goes, "Hello, YouTube. Chris here from Harriet Pipes." And then suddenly we get this inordinate amount of smoke. It's absolutely superb. Superb. What was I on about? I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. I am somebody... Oh, you're getting old. We've done that. Things that so I don't worry about getting old. I think it's... I like getting old. I like the fact that we have wisdom. The only thing about getting old, I suppose, is if you haven't got your health, and you've just got to look after your health. That's what you've got to do. Eat sensibly, go do some exercises. You know, there's a whole load of stuff, and I don't want to preach on here about healthy things. And of course, people, non-smokers, will be going, well, the first thing you should do is get rid of that wretched pipe, that stinky pipe. You know what they're like. They're all, you know. It's nice to be able to do a pipe smoking video in which you can just sort of say to the non-smoking people, you can have a bit of a joke at their expense. And I know that some non-smokers watch, and I appreciate that. And none of it is meant to be offensive. Do you remember comedy, when people used to take the mickey out of each other? And we English, in the old days, could stomach it. We could stomach a joke at our own expense, because we'd go, oh yeah, I do that you've just taken the mickey of. We could stomach that. But now, world has gone mad. If you can't, you know, this is the thing. If you can't laugh at yourself, what have you got? If you can't joke at your own stupidity, your own lunacy, your own... You know, people do these days, they take themselves all so damn seriously, so very, very seriously. And it's such a shame. Now, one of the things I like doing, reading, you know that. I'm just looking to see how much time I've wasted on here. Bear with me. Because what happens is this can turn itself off. I know that Father John was having the same issue. And we do like to waffle on, don't we? But what else are you going to watch on YouTube these days? It's either... God, that's a nice one, isn't it? Look at that lot. It's either a lot of AI stuff and voiceovers, or it's a lot of worrying stuff, or tittle-tattle. Stuff, I mean, at least, I think, with my content at least, you know, there's no pretense that I'm trying to educate anybody on anything. Not on this channel. This is just a friendly chat, you know. I need to stoke this fire a little bit. or at least give it some welly. One of the things I like to do is old books. I love old books. This is an old book. Okay, so don't get frightened now when I tell you the title. This is Pre-Reformation England by H. Maynard Smith. Pre-Reformation England, right? It's got in here, I love this thing about old books. You probably can't see this, but it says on here, W.F. Westcott, Exeter College, Oxford. I am somebody who has been to Oxford College. And I have studied awfully, very much about pre-Reformation England. And I like these books because I can't read them cover to cover because I'm not really studying anything, so I don't need to. But I like to get a flavour of history, little dollops of history and what things were like. And many times you can just open up some of these sort of books, these dry old books, dusty, dry old books, and just read bits, you know. And it well, what is it? Is it funny? Is it educational? Is it just amusing? Is it entertaining? Who knows? So I've just opened this up, page 27, the state of the church. Here, it was inevitable that bishops concerned with state affairs should not be resident in their diocese. From the time of his appointment to the See of York, Bainbridge resided at the papal court. So did the Italians, except Sylvester de Gillesi, who was for some years in London. And you think, I don't know who they were, what that's about. But the bit I wanted to read out, there's this lovely chapter here, I've just found it, on superstitions and abuses. And it says, talks about, I don't know, I had read this chapter because it was quite interesting. And it talks about various things. Many palmers or pilgrims were no doubt quite genuine in their devotion, it says here. And then there's a little bit of a rhyme that comes up. They bear with them no manner of thing that was worth a farthing, cattle, gold, ne fee. But meekly they ask, they meet where... See, I should have prepared this because I'm reading this absolutely dreadful. Anyway, whatever. By the time these pious... Anyway, the bit I wanted to read... Sorry about that. I thought I could get away with it, and I failed miserably. The bit I wanted to read was this. So this is all about pre-Reformation England. It's talking about the 16th century, before, around that sort of time. And it makes you, this is quite interesting because it reminds you of what life was like then compared to what life is like now. All the trials and tribulations that we have now and how lucky we are. And we often think, you know, how awful it is. And you hear people saying, oh, we haven't got any money, we're poor, I'll tell you, as they sit there and watch Netflix with their Amazon Prime account and various pizzas being delivered to their door. We're poor, I'll tell you, we've got no money. And so this is talking about the home. We cannot understand the changes of the 16th century without noting the growing importance of the home and home life. There was no longer a conflict between the ideals of the cloister and the hearth, for very few felt a vocation for the cloister, and many, like Sir Thomas More, were called to God to serve him by caring for aged parents and bringing up children in the way of righteousness. But then it goes on, a little bit later on, it says, among the poor, the family tie was very strong. Children were the poor man's only possession. From an early age, they contributed by their labour to his support and were his only hope of protection when he grew old and disabled. Isn't that, I mean, I find that, you know, we're reminded that our children, were possessions, which is a very interesting point when it comes to law, but that's for the other channel, talking about legal and lawful. They were our possessions. Anyway, I won't go into that. And but also they were the family unit was together, and we were all one. And so the kids would like look after the parents, and when they got a bit senile, they'd probably bash them on the head and send them on their way. Not now. Different game. Anyway, lastly, I've just got to tamp this down so we get enough smoke. thank you for tuning in, by the way. I do appreciate it. And, you know, how are we doing? We've only got 5 minutes left before this thing shuts off, and I don't want this to go on forever, although it has. So the last thing I wanted to say, well, incidentally, if anybody wants to send me some tobacco, it'd be lovely. If anyone's, you know, got more money than sense, send me some tobacco. Just get in touch, and I will give it a puff. I do like the English blends, but I'm trying these other things. Anyway, I better have some port. Finally, get off, Vobes, get off. Stop hogging the internet, sorry. Finally, the thing I wanted to say was, if you've watched Father John, and I do recommend him, I like Father John very much. I think he's great. He brings a certain gravitas to pipe smoking and a bit of spirituality, which I think is lovely. He is reading a book that he has written. He's a novelist, and he's written a novel. Makes sense, doesn't it? And I've been enjoying that, and I'm enjoying the sort of the vocabulary, if I can say it, the vocabulary that he brings to muster. Because, and I've been writing books for a while, and not all of them are published, and some of them are children's books, and some of them are grown-up books, and I'm in the process of writing a book at the moment, and nearly finished it, thank goodness. But what I wanted to tell you about, and I'm aiming to put together a playlist, which will be on this channel, and I don't know what it'll be called, probably Stories of the Vobes or something. I wrote a whole load of very instant, quick type of Roald Dahl, Tales of the Unexpected type things about a couple of years ago, and I recorded them as videos on this very channel. I was trying to find my feet with this channel, trying to work out what I wanted to do. Now, there'll be a lot of people who come and they've not looked back, perhaps, at the stories, or maybe they have, and they've gone, well, that was a load of rubbish. But I'm going to put together a playlist, and if you fancy it, you don't have to, of course, you've got many other things to do with your time. And these are sort of stories of the unexpected, and I will put them in a playlist, one after the other. They're about 10, 12 minutes, and I wrote them. Some of them I read them verbatim. Some of them I just retell the story. And it's got ers and ums, and sometimes it's edited, sometimes it's not, and sometimes, you know. And maybe you'll enjoy it. But you know what it's like? If you put content out and then there's a whole new audience and change, you realise there's a whole bunch of people who have no idea what you did in the past. So I thought I'd put a playlist and you might enjoy that. And thanks to Father John for inspiring me to do that. And maybe next week I'll tell you about something else that I've written, but I might keep that back a little while longer. Anyway, I've been waffling on far too long. I'm going back to being a real pipe smoker again. And I will leave you to enjoy, as this goes out, Easter Sunday here in Blighty. So, there it is. Thanks for watching. And I will see you soon. Take care, one and all. Toodle pip.